Salutations, respective viewers. I am George from Ireland. So this video is about the Cyprus False Rape case and why I'm outraged at the sympathy that so many people are showing for the criminal and the victim blaming which has been going on. And it's jaw-dropping because it's usually feminists who accuse others of victim blaming, but that's precisely what they're doing in this case and taking the side of the felon against the innocent. So just to remind you of what happened, July 2019, a British woman was on holiday in Cyprus. She accused 12 young men of raping her, well, boys, some were aged 15 and some were up to the age of 20. There were Israeli tourists, said they were arrested, questioned. She was questioned, and she ended up withdrawing all her allegations that these suspects were set free and they flew home. So this woman was charged with public nuisance. So she was released on bail, if I've got that right, and she was convicted just last month of causing public nuisance, and astonishingly, she was treated with the most unexampled lenity and sentenced to given a suspended sentence and released, having to pay a fine of £125. So it was shocking. It was an absolutely outrageous act of injustice. This woman should have been serving 20 years. She could have been believed. All these 12 innocent men could have gone down for very long sentences, several years at least each. So it's outrageous. So she should have got what she would have imposed on them. So it's a gross injustice, and it really is sickening to see so many people taking her side, particularly in the United Kingdom, because she's British, they're of another ethnicity, and is the idea, oh, a British person must always be in the right? I mean, if she'd committed that crime within the confines of the United Kingdom, she wouldn't have received such an enormous wave of sympathy. But because she committed this felony overseas, then many Britishers took her side against Johnny Foreigner. And presumably anti-Semitism plays a little bit of this because they're Jewish, that they're going to be caricatured and depicted as sexual deviants or something like that, or perverts, which is obviously vile. Is an anti-Semitic trope which really is nauseating. So no one should have his ethnicity or faith used against him. So this woman committed a very heinous offence. It's obviously perjury, and she was trying to have innocent people convicted of a crime which is regarded as almost uniquely abhorrent. If someone's wrongfully convicted of shoplifting, that's not going to ruin his life, even if it's never extirpated that crime. But if he's wrongly convicted of a crime of this nature, then he's branded for life. People say sex offender for life, that there's no rehabilitation. So it also does a huge disservice to genuine rape victims. I believe her. They were going on those placards. Well, I believe them. 12 people's word against one, 12 against one, right? And you're going to take the side of the one? For goodness sake. So as though every allegation is always entirely true. So that was that. What actually went on that night, I really don't know. She may have copulated with one of them, or more of them, or up to all 12. I'm not sure. I wasn't there. Only they know that, only she knows that. It's been cited that she had bruises on her body, as though that is proof of rape. You know, I've had plenty of contusions on my skin, and I've never been raped, right? So there are all sorts of ways which you can sustain a bruise without being subjected to non-consensual intercourse. We don't know if the bruises had anything to do with her encounters with these males. She could have bruised herself a long time beforehand, afterwards. It could have been even deliberate in order to try to generate evidence to try to make her claim of these men holding her down against her will and copulating with her and trying to make that claim remotely credible. So I am not the court. I have not heard all the evidence and sifted through it. The court has done so, and the court has rendered its verdict. So that is that. So people shouldn't be second-guessing the court like that. And there are these Britons who are sneering at Cyprus and saying the system of justice is no good. Well, it's outrageous. My heart goes out to the Cypriot people in their valiant struggle to uphold their judicial system. It's part of the European Union. I notice that most liberals and left-wingers, mostly Europhiles, who are the ones who are blackguarding Cyprus. Now, Cyprus is obviously part of the EU. We're told that if a country's in the EU, then its system of justice is really above reproach. And here they are constantly reproaching the Cypriot legal system. You know, if it's all signed up to this European Convention on Human Rights, well then it must have a completely good legal system. There must be probity there. So we're led to believe. Like if the UK was going to withdraw from that, then obviously that would be an absolute cataclysm. So I'm so often told by by Europhiles. But often that's not the case. Then is it? I mean, if Cyprus. If Cyprus is signed up to all this and it's worthless because they have such a bad legal system, then that means that the European Convention on Human Rights mustn't be sacrosanct after all. So people are trying to have it both ways just because they want to send innocent men to prison. So this woman, she presumably had intercourse with at least one of these tourists and was embarrassed about it, regretted it, or whatever. I don't know. Was just vengeful, a pathological liar. I don't know why she's done this. So she's appealing. Now, could she win her appeal? In which case, I'll be wrong, okay? I'll accept the court's verdict. Now, just because the claim wasn't proven to be false doesn't mean that it's proven to be true either. There is a grey area, as we can't prove it either way. But so she retracted her allegation. Now, she claims that she was questioned by the police for many hours without a lawyer present. I don't know if her allegation is true or not. And her name hasn't been released. Why on earth has her name not been revealed? It ought to be published. I mean, in this country, if you're convicted of something, it's released because we have open justice. I'm not sure what the Cypriot laws on this. Maybe in Cyprus it's different. And her victims, when they got home, they were greeted by their families, and one person allegedly said, the Brit is a slut. Well, which might have been true if she voluntarily did it with these 12 guys in one night. That's not a bad thing, in my view. Slut, I know it's an opprobrious term, but and this evidence is cited as though it somehow proves that these boys are guilty. Just because one of their relatives said something a tad unpalatable doesn't prove that they committed rape. The person who allegedly said that wasn't even one of the accused. What's that got to do with anything? It's just to try and generate sympathy for this vicious, sick, foul criminal, this woman. And so I think she should be publicly shamed wherever she goes, because it was a gross act of injustice she was committing, and we must be much firmer on false accusers like that. So unfortunately, rape has always existed, shall always exist. I'd much prefer if it didn't, but let's be honest with ourselves, every crime is going to always exist. We can reduce the incidence of it, we can't get rid of it altogether, but what ultra-feminists want to do, they want to have unfair trials, they want to have the presumption of innocence, they want accusation to equal conviction. And other things are the way, if alcohol is consumed, a female's responsibility is really absolved of her, but a male's is not. And any consumption of alcohol on behalf of the woman, it vitiates her consent. Incidentally, of course, rape happens to men too. Anyway, these males, they filmed and took photos of their intercourse with this woman. Now, they would hardly be stupid enough to do so if they really were committing rape. And presumably all this has been viewed by the police. So that's that. Anyway, it's really unedifying, this spectacle of seeing so many Britishers, particularly extremist feminists, lining up to advocate for crime, for perjury, against justice. It's unfreedom. And I really hope that the Cypriot court didn't go easy on this woman because they felt they were lent on, because they think, it would damage relations in the United Kingdom, it would be bad for the economy because tourism is such a major sector of their ailing economy. I'm reminded of that Latin tag, what the Romans said in days of old, when judges had to stand up for justice despite the mob. Fiat justitia ruat caelum. Do justice though the sky should fall. Regardless of the consequences, the court must find the courage to do the morally right thing, knowing that demagogues and mountebanks will asperse them, will ascribe the lowest possible motives to them, that people might be rioting in the streets. No, we don't give in. We do the morally right thing, no matter how popular or unpopular it is. This is not a popularity contest, and it's not an unpopularity contest. Even if every person in the world believed that woman was innocent, if she was in fact guilty, the court should still convict her. Even if every person in the world believed that she was guilty, but if in reality she was innocent, then the court should acquit her. It's not to do with popularity. It's not the public voting. The truth is not democratic. She might be popular, she might be unpopular. It should have absolutely zero effect on the court's decision. Marching in the streets, we completely disregard that. We do the right thing, right? We're not just trying to garner favor. We shouldn't be guided by externalities, these other considerations like what it'll do for tourism and extrapolate that into what it'll do to the economy, generally. No, we do the right thing. So the United Kingdom, of all countries, the former colonial power, should not be trying to bully Cyprus when the Cypriot system of justice is attempting to administer justice in a particularly thorny case. So that's for that. Please subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitter, on Facebook and Instagram. Book online lessons with me, including in law, and indeed book a guided tour of London with me. Goodbye, everyone.